Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Inside the Islanders Live. This is an open mic segment. I'm George Matthews. I'm going to be the moderator and perhaps floor sweeper for the event when it's all said and done at the end of the afternoon. I'd like to welcome you people for showing up this afternoon. It is the one and only Sunday before mid-June, before the NHL playoffs come to an end, so it's one of the open free Sundays that the franchise penciled in and saw as a possibility that fans wouldn't be distracted by the NHL playoffs. I'd like to, as I said, welcome you people. I'd like to welcome the media who are here as well, the team bloggers, those people that try to keep the fans informed on what's going on with this franchise moving forward. And that is what this afternoon's all about, I think, is to inform you people of what's presently going to happen with the franchise and in the future as well. The past is what it is. We've all known what's gone on there. So for the most part this afternoon, it's about the franchise moving forward. And I think as has been noted here over the last 12 months is to try to keep the fan base, which is very loyal here, and continuing to improve, as we saw last season, averaging 2,470 fans, the biggest increase in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, to keep you people informed of what's going on with the franchise, that you can talk the game and know about what's going on. There's obviously certain things that are privy to the management side and the hockey side that cannot be disclosed here this afternoon, but they're going to try to inform you and enlighten you of where this franchise is moving forward. As we go through this process, we're going to use the screen to our left to give you some video of what are some of the observations of people in and around Major Junior Hockey as far as scouts are concerned. We've got Guy Perron, who's a scout for the Colorado Avalanche. He will give his thoughts on what's going on here in Charlottetown currently, what he likes. And, of course, then we've got the radio voice of the Halifax Mooseheads, John Moore, who will go through the process of what's going on and what has gone on in Halifax. There's a process to development. There's a process to be successful. You don't go, as he indicates, in Halifax from worst to first overnight. And Halifax has had their tough times, and they're a prime example to show support of what's going on here in Charlottetown currently. We've got that as far as video is concerned. We've also got some PowerPoint still shots on the depth of the franchise and as well the upcoming draft. What potential possibilities do we have? How many first-round picks do we have? And Grant will go through all that with us, as well as the 2015 draft. At this time, then, without further ado, the general manager of the Charlottetown Islanders. Give a nice round of applause for Grant Sonier, please.
Where are the bagpipes, George?
That's the only thing we're missing. A little East Coast entertainment. But Grant, we look at the situation with the Charlottetown Islanders right now as far as your first year as GM of a very important franchise culturally here on PEI. The game is so much part of the landscape here as far as hockey is concerned. Your franchise that you're in charge of as GM, it's very important to the population of PEI for this franchise to move forward and be successful. But we're going to talk about those things here this afternoon, but obviously, end of the first season for you, you match up against Halifax, you go out in 4 games, Halifax a tough opponent, it is what it is, but at the end of the season, moving forward, what are some of the positives that you see for this franchise right now, moving towards the draft and obviously to the August training camp?
Well, thank you, George. First of all, I want to welcome everybody for coming today, taking time out of your Sunday afternoon, sunny Sunday afternoon. We've had quite a winter of weather this past winter, and appreciate you guys coming out here. The positives, there's lots of positives. One of the things that I think it's important that you as fans have to realize, that I realize as a general manager and someone that's been involved in hockey for a long time, it's not as easy as evaluating based on wins and losses. And I know that might sound silly to you guys, but you guys have entrenched yourself to be fans of a major junior hockey team. And in order for us to get to where we want to get as a franchise and an organization, there are some stepping stones that we have to take. And To say that I'm happy with the season and the wins and loss columns, of course I'm not. I want to win as badly as you guys want to win, and I think it's evident what's most important is we had a group of players that really wanted to win. And, you know, today is about giving you some direction as to what I see as the general manager of this franchise. And when I say me, I'm referring to, I'll try not to say me, this is an us thing. We have a coaching staff, we have a group of owners that are behind us in terms of giving us the resources and doing the things we deem necessary to get this franchise to be a premier franchise in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, and that really is our ultimate goal. So the positives, I saw a coaching staff that embraced a rebuild situation, that did everything in their power to make sure that you as the fans are entertained, that there was a group of kids that came out here, and the word kids is the operative word because we really are a young team, but we tried not to make any excuses. We asked that our team work hard. We asked that our coaches and our team keep it positive regardless of the outcome, and that we believe in the development process. And that's really where we are. That's the three-pronged component of where we are right now. We manage the workload. We remain positive amidst a development process where we lose more than we win, and that's tough. If you're an athlete, it's tough on you as a fan, it's tough on everyone involved, but if you believe in the process and we develop this process, my belief is that we're going to win a lot more games than we're going to lose, and that's the ultimate goal, obviously.
Now, wow, that's loud. I better hold it back here. When you take some of those positives that we're talking about, certainly a positive for, as the GM of this team, Gordie Dwyer as the head coach, is the development of some of the younger players on this roster over this past season. When you, obviously, Sprong is going to be a dynamic player in all of the CHL. When you take a look at his drafting presence, possibly for the NHL in 2015, they've got him rated 8th overall. You see the growth of Alex Goulet, youngster Cameron Kiley. Talk about that growth that we've seen from those players in this past season.
Yeah, and I mean, you have to commend, and I always feel bad when we reference these players, but I mean, the players you mentioned and other young players we have on our roster, they're part of a team, and we've got lots of underlying stories behind those players that you mentioned. And really, the important thing to note here is you know, when we decided that to get our ages in line and to be able to get our roster in check in terms of getting the ages in line so that we can grow something, we would never have been able to make that conscious decision had we not realized, and I think you as fans realize, just how special some of our young players are. I mean, Daniel Sprong, Alexander Goulet, Cameron Kiley, some players that were acquired in trades at the trade deadline. We're really excited about all the high-profile players, and we've got some really good depth players that we can be as a group, as fans and as an organization excited about. And it was those types of things that we identified early on. You know, if we were to give a synopsis of our season, I'm sure most people remember when we were 10-2-1. I think we were nationally ranked. I think I was the person that made the joke. We were 4th ranked in the country. I said somebody forgot the 0. I think we were the 40th ranked team in the country, and we want to be the 1st ranked team in the country. But we realized as an organization early on that we weren't that team. But in realizing that, we realized we had some really special young players. And every team that has success has to build itself around the building pieces of a good hockey club. Venture to say that most people in the audience here today have a favorite National Hockey League team. If it's Toronto, I'm sure you either love or hate Phil Kessel. You might love Dion Phaneuf. He's an Islander. We love him, right? Or Jonathan Bernier. Well, those are individual players that you like in a hockey team you cheer for. Well, our hockey team, we have pieces in place. We're excited about Mason McDonald. We think Daniel Sprong, with the right people moving forward as he becomes an older, more experienced player, has a chance to be a superstar, and so on and so forth. So the challenge now as an organization, fill in the pieces. It's a puzzle. Get the right pieces to go with the pieces we have, and believe, and keep it positive and develop. And that's really, my focus as a GM is to try to keep everybody in check in terms of the coaches and the players and let them know, because any team that's ever won anything, they've always had good self-belief. It's hard to ask fans to have good self-belief when you have 20 wins on a regular season. And I know I'm the guy that's pouring the Kool-Aid, and I'm the guy that's stirring the Kool-Aid jar, and I'm asking you guys to drink the Kool-Aid. Well, I think the Kool-Aid tastes pretty good right now at the development stage where we are, and I think it's going to go in the right direction. That's what I believe, and time will tell.
Not only you, Grant, believe that, but I think fans in and around PEI, when you average 2,470 fans and show that 30% increase in attendance, that's huge in the Q, and it's huge here in the province of PEI that the fans are buying into what you're trying to accomplish, you and Gordy Dwyer and your hockey operations side and your scouting staff. But it's easy for you to say that, okay? But what do people in and around the sport at the major junior league level and even at the pro level, what do they think about what's going on here in Charlottetown? I'll draw your attention to the big screen to our left. Guy Perron, an amateur scout with the Colorado Avalanche, will reinforce about what's going on in Charlottetown and what Gordy and Grant are talking about.
Guesting with us is scout of the Colorado Avalanche, Mr. Guy Perron. And Guy, just going to get your thoughts on a couple of players here that the Islanders have moving forward, and obviously young players in a rebuild mode. The first guy that everybody's talking about, and there's quite a buzz around the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League and around the junior ranks, is Daniel Sprong. You had a chance to see him a couple times this year, and last night scoring his 29th of the year. Lots of rankings out there have him in the top 10 for next year's NHL draft. What do you see in Sprong?
Well, it's certainly a great player, player that can skate, can move the puck, scale enough, and definitely can find the back of the net. So it's very exciting for us to see him next season and see how the progression is going to be. It's certainly, he already made a name for himself this year, and hopefully he can take the summer and then build on that, and next year come back and replicate that aspect of the game, and hopefully, like you said, he can be one of the top prospects in a Quebec Major Junior.
So you're looking at guys here, obviously, this year with their draft eligibility, and one comes to mind, and Alex Goulet in his rookie season got passed over in his draft year as a 15-year-old. You talk about Goulet, and you've seen him. How does he stack up with this year's draft class?
Well, definitely a kid who has emerged of being one of prime player in the league, and as you know, he's got so much vision, so much sense. That, you know, he competes hard. Certainly a guy that will bring a lot more down the road. And he has made a tremendous steps and progress this year. So we're looking forward to. I don't see him not going into the draft this year and not being picked. He's very talented and he competes. You know, it's hard to get a guy who can compete and has the talent that he has.
One more kid that's on the radar and really has made a name for himself, has been on Hockey Canada's radar as well. Had an outstanding start at the CHL Top Prospects game, and a player that scouts are really taking attention to is Mason McDonald. When you see a goaltender with that type of talent, and not only that, but his size, 6'4", he's good at playing the puck. What do you see? Obviously, a future number one goaltender here moving forward.
Well, Mason's has been very good. I think he needs to make the progression and really work over the summer to become a number one guy. Definitely, like you mentioned, in Calgary, he was superb and he has size, mobility, very focused, and he works hard. Goaltenders usually needs to work hard every day and off the ice. So it'll be interesting how he stacks up the next year. Definitely a high prospect in this coming draft.
A couple more kids on the back end. You're familiar with David Henley. He was brought in as a key piece here on the back end. At 6'4" and playing with that mean grit and determination on the back end. You don't see that too often from a 16-year-old, especially matching up against other teams' top lines.
Well, he certainly has picked up his game ever since he came back from Val-d'Or and is playing a lot more confident with the puck. He's definitely, like I mentioned, he's got size, he can skate, he can move it, he's got poise with the puck. He's got a little bit of grit too, so which is like we like to see that from a big kid like that. So We'll see how it goes next year. You know, like everybody else that we talk about, guys that have done well this season and made a name for themselves. How are they going to be able to take what they learned this season, put it into the summer regimen of training, and then bring it back and continue to improve?
Finally, one more kid we'll touch on, Cameron Kiley, a late birthday. Obviously playing a little bit of pressure here as an Island boy, but you can't teach hockey sense.
No question about that. Solid two-way player, can play any positions. You watch him; he can play hard on both sides of the puck. He conscientious at his D zone. Offensively, will battle for pucks. Can skate. Good vision. It'll be interesting. 30 points this season. We probably, like everybody else, and like the Islanders fans would like to see him, doubled up next season, and the progress will have to be in this case, summer, train, get stronger, and then go to battles next season.
Finally, I know it's tough to compare juniors and pros, but if you look at the timeline that the Avalanche have taken, and yourself being a major part of it, building through the draft and what Grant Sonier has done here, and building through the draft as well. The old adage, if you can't draft, you can't win, and it's kind of a similar situation here with not only your club with the Avalanche, but here with the Islanders as well.
Well, you always want to have a core group to make a base and then establish yourself into a league, and what Grant has done with the Islanders, and the fans should be excited about the future. Let's take the playoffs to make these guys to learn a lot more against bigger, faster teams, and maybe a little bit more experienced than the Islanders players are. But really take those, learn from it, build from there. And it's tough, everybody wants to get your best player and your best youth players, and I think the organization's done a great job trying to keep those guys, trading some assets without touching those guys, and hopefully not knowingly what they got in return. Hopefully that will pay it off for the next season and beyond.
All right, Guy, thanks a lot. We appreciate your words here this evening.
Thank you.
Guy Perron, scout for the Colorado Avalanche.
Nice job by Guy on that interview as well, and you can see that he is basically following up with what is the belief here by a lot of hockey fans and PEI that this franchise is moving in the right direction. Now, Grant, the season has come to an end approximately 3 weeks in the rearview mirror for the most part. As a hockey franchise, as a hockey operations guy, the GM, scouting staff, what's the club been doing since the end of the season?
Nothing. We're all on vacation. We're not working at all. No, we're. It's this time of year really is when things crank up from a different perspective of the hockey team. But to take you through the steps here, the last 3 weeks, immediately when the season's over, we have a lot of things we have to wrap up. Obviously, we've got a billet program in place. These kids are all implemented into people's homes. The kids have to be returned back to their real parents, to their biological parents. But we have exit meetings, extensive exit meetings with our players. We talk about our depth chart. We talk about whether or not the players met the expectations. Each player has individual goals that we as an organization help them set. Did they meet their goals? Did they exceed their goals? Did they fall short? What the organization expectation is from a coaching standpoint, from a managed standpoint. We also, and you heard Guy talk about it, he probably used the word development in different terms, getting stronger, getting bigger. That's really the most important message I think we left our players with, was how much detail we expect them in the off season to pay attention to the development process. And as much as I want to win more games right now, as much as I know you guys want us to win more games right now, there is one thing that has to happen. We have to let nature take its course at some point. These kids have to grow, they have to become bigger, they have to become stronger, and when they do, they're going to start to shine the way that we think that they can. And the word in hockey we use is projection. Like, we have a projection for these players. I project that Daniel Strong will be a star. I think most people agree. But we have projections for all of our players, and I think we've got a lot of good things going in the right direction right now. And we're not going to leave any stone unturned. We're not going to let these players go home and not do the work this summer. We have a detailed program for development in place. Kevin Elliott, who's taken some time out of his schedule today to be here, we've got a multiple-prong development program that these players are going to be held accountable to. They're going to be tested this summer. We're going to measure their testing results. We're going to make sure that they keep working to improve upon that. So when they come back here next year, they are bigger, they are stronger, they are faster. If you're a little bit faster and a little bit bigger and a little bit stronger in the game of hockey, all those things add up to a hockey club winning more hockey games. That's just fact. That's the way it works. And that's what we've been doing. And obviously the draft is coming up on the 31st. Me personally, I'm off to Finland on Tuesday. Don't get all excited thinking that's a luxurious vacation. I'll be seeing about 15 hockey games in 6 days. All the best 96, 97 born players in the world will be there. The Euro draft is a focus that we're focusing on, a key component to us. I admit we have to do a much better job at having real high-end European players on our roster, and we will do that next year. The draft is the 31st. Lots of things going on, and all part of the development process.
You talk about the development process, of course, and as I opened up here this afternoon, I talked about this franchise, the important timelines we're looking at is the present and the future. But a huge part of the present and the future took place at Christmas time with the trading deadline, the final trading deadline for the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. Just reset back for us the futures of what's coming Charlottetown's way over the next couple of drafts. You don't have to go into great detail, but just revisit for us to make sure that the people here this afternoon know exactly what some of the potential possibilities are.
Well, we have lots of picks. If you believe in building a hockey team through the draft, and I know, like you mentioned in the onset, you don't want to talk about the past, and I don't really want to talk about the past either. We are as new a team. We're as close to an expansion team as you can be without being an expansion team. Everything's new. New ownership, new logos, new this, new that. The one area that we did inherit as a hockey team, we inherited the players that were on our roster. And yes, we moved a lot of them. And in a lot of cases, we may have moved maybe a fan favorite, whether it be an Antoine Bibeau or a Jack Nevins. Trust me when I tell you, there wasn't one single move made that we didn't realize that there was some negative ramifications to it, but the positives outweighed the negatives. And that's really what allowed us to do the things we did at the trade deadline. We've got 3 first-round picks in this year's draft. We've got 2 second-round picks. We have a 3rd-round pick and 2 4th-round picks, a total of 16 picks in this draft on May 31st. I'm not going to sit here and tell you we're going to use all the picks, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you we're going to trade them all away. If I was a betting person, which I'm not, if you are, it'll probably be a combination of both. Because, again, it's a puzzle. We have to put the pieces in place in order to get to where we want to get. And if the right moves are to use the draft picks and all our draft picks and continue the process, or if we can expedite the process without jeopardizing the future, those will be the tough decisions that we have to make. I've got an unbelievable scouting staff. It's not a staff that's been together very long, but you look at what we were able to generate from last year's draft alone in Bradley Kennedy, Alexander Goulet, and Daniel Sprong. They did a darn good job. Now, did we hit on every pick? No. But that staff has been together for only 1 year. Now we're going into our 2nd year of a staff. There's continuity. There's direction. I really believe in the hard work that our scouts did, and I have a lot of faith in the draft process coming through. So it's going to be an exciting time, and I hope as fans they follow the draft because I'm not going to tell you we're going to get another superstar like Daniel Sprong, but I sure hope we can.
That certainly would be nice. There's no doubt about that. We're going to revisit the draft in the 2nd segment with Grant just briefly as this segment moves along. And just a final response or question here about being GM of this franchise here, you look at the depth of the franchise as far as the past draft. We saw the Sprong, his development this year, Goulet, Kennedy you talked about. But if, again, you look to your left, and I'll have Grant walk you through this, okay? I want to give everybody a chance here this afternoon to take a look at the depth of this franchise and to see what is available there for the fan base here moving forward. We'll do it segment by segment, forwards, defense, and goaltending, and then we'll see what Grant's responses are to this, and if I have any questions, I'll follow up, and then we'll go with Gordy. Okay, Grant?
Well, right off the bat, there's a gap up there on the top left side, and there really could be two gaps. We're not going to get into the actual specifics and the details, but two of the deals that we made at the deadline involve players, and this is my first year in the Quebec League, and that's just the way they do deals in the Quebec League. And so I was fine with doing this type of deal. We have coming back our way at the draft what I believe to be one of the best power forwards in the queue. And we also have coming back in the deal, again, there could be another blank in the forward position, what I believe to be one of the premier young offensive players in the league. And when we can announce those names, we'll be happy to announce them. And you're going to be really excited about where they're going to fit in with the depth that we have. So we've talked about Daniel Sprong. We've talked about Alexander Goulet. The yellow colors are those players that were born in 1997. So they're the youngest players playing in our league. Cameron Kiley is really like a yellow player. He's what we call a late birth date. If you're born on or after September 15th, you cannot be drafted into the National Hockey League with your draft class. You're what's called a late birth date. So some of these players that we're talking about are definitely going to be pro hockey players. In the case of Cameron Kiley, he's not getting drafted with his draft class. He'll be eligible next year, which means a late birth date, you have the possibility of having him around for one extra year in your junior lineup, which can become significant whenever you get your team to where you want it to be. We'll answer all kinds of questions, I'm sure, throughout the day if you have any questions about specific players. But we've got now our team in line. To give you an idea, when I took over as the GM, we had 9 potential overage players coming back to our lineup. So you can only keep 3. So we had a lot of maneuvering that we had to do early on before we even started as a franchise, and that was the trading of people to get some players back, the Jimmy O'Ligny's and moves that we made. That seems like a long time ago. All of those deals have people or picks coming back our way, and it's all part of the process, the building process. If you switch over into the defense, this is an area, I'll be honest with you, I think we're really light on the back end. It's an area where we, as an organization, we've identified, and I'm not giving out secrets here today. We've talked about this. I mentioned this in other insider segments that we did throughout the year, but we're really excited about the young D-men that we have. And again, we can talk about the development of some of our players, but clearly at the top of that, you've got David Henley and Luc Duchesne. I will mention Luc Duchesne here, and I'm sure some questions will come up. As fans, I'm sure you have your opinions of these players, and certainly as management and coaches we do as well. I think Luc Duchesne will be a young player that will get a raw deal right now. He came in here, he played 7 games in 9 days at the World Under-17 Championships. He rushed right here. He played in his first game on a second shift with the Charlottetown Islanders. He blocked a shot, and he was out for 6 weeks. That's really hard to overcome as a 16-year-old player who just got traded for and was told that he's a big part of our future. I think he handled it really, really well. I see great upside in this player that maybe he hasn't had the opportunity yet to show. And again, I'm stirring the Kool-Aid, and I know I'm asking you guys to drink it. I think you'll be really surprised how good Luc Duchesne will be next year. But we'll talk about the defense depth. In goaltending, we already have talked about it a lot. If you go to the goaltenders, obviously, Mason McDonald, I think we're really fortunate to have this young man in our midst here. He's one of the most important pieces to any organization, let alone ours. He's a #1 bona fide goaltender. And Guy Perron mentioned it. It's incumbent upon him now to take that step to be an elite goaltender. We're thankful that Hockey Canada believes the same way we believe in this young man. He's going to be at the tournament that I'm at, and I hope and pray that he has a great tournament, because that's only going to make his confidence grow greater. Eric Brassard is a goaltender we acquired, and really, we couldn't ask more of Eric Brassard. He came in here, he was clearly the number 2 behind Antoine Bibeau. He played really, really well at the beginning of the season. He had some ups and downs, which all young players do, and he's not stupid. He knows that Mason McDonald's a really good goaltender, and it's about getting him to accept his role and to push Mason McDonald next year. And then after that, the depth is really up in the air, and we will draft a goaltender in this draft. And it's an area of the game in terms of the development and the building pieces that you can never have enough good young prospects. We'll make decisions as we move forward based on what we think our goaltenders are capable of. The other area is we have to address the overage situation. If you look at the 94 potentials, I think Spencer Colball came in and did an unbelievable job for a kid that basically got waved through the Ontario Hockey League. He's a high-energy, really big-time team player. He's got something to offer to us that we'll consider. Craig McLaughlin, what a great kid. Not because he's from PEI and I bleed like an Islander. This kid, for a kid that was drafted into the league and really never got an opportunity, he was an incredible role player for us this past year. Anthony Cortez, a young, skilled defenseman that put up some decent numbers. He's the type of player, like Guy Perron mentioned, we want Cameron Kiley to double his output. We need Anthony Cortez as an overage defenseman to come back and put up big numbers for us, and he's got that type of potential. Mike DiPaolo, probably a fan favorite, did everything we asked of him to do. His role as being a policeman and a protector for our hockey club, nobody did it better in our league. Robert Pelche, just a high-end energy guy that brought it every night. Not a big. If he scored on his breakaways, we may still be playing. This guy was really, really good as a role player. We can only keep 3. I can tell you that one of our players coming back at the draft is going to be an overage. So potentially 2 of these overage players, and these are decisions we have to make as an organization. Which people fit the needs that we most need right now, because you can only have 3 overage players, and I'm sure you'll have some questions about that as we move forward. We need help on defense, and we've identified that as an area of our organization is going to improve. We do have some depth in terms of young people like Duncan McKee that we brought in here for a week. We had an NHL defense coach come in, worked with him. There's great potential, but again, these are things that time has to be part of the process, and we'll have a training camp again next year, and we hope that some of these people come through. Goaltending and defense is how you build championships. We have lots of offensive firepower, we believe, with the growth of our young players over the next 2 years. So I think we've got a lot of good things going. As I said at the beginning, I'm really excited about the future of our hockey team.
Just a final question here, Grant, and you mentioned Duncan McKee. Is he the highlight player that's on that depth chart that we haven't seen here in Charlottetown as far as the depth of the organization is concerned and potentially making the roster next year? Is he perhaps the premier prospect that we have? Would you say that, or is there somebody else?
I'll answer that with a really short story. Before the National Hockey League starts up their training camp, we're fortunate enough to have the Adam McQuaids and the Brad Richards and those players of the world that train here in Charlottetown, and they're out, and Dion Phaneuf was on the ice and practiced with our team. But in that corner of the Civic Center, we did a one-on-one drill with the defense, and Duncan McKee was still here. And when we told Adam McQuaid that day that we were letting Duncan McKee go back to midget hockey, he thought we were crazy. And when I told him he was a 16-year-old, he thought I was lying. So does Duncan McKee have a lot of potential? He certainly does. He threw Adam McQuaid in a one-on-one battle drill. He threw him down on the ice 3 times. We need this kid just to get a little bit better at skating, and we could have one heck of a prospect.
Great job, Grant. Can we have a nice round of applause for Grant, please?